Hey, I'm Scott, and welcome to my shack. Yesterday, I was out at field day, and I was talking to some people. And the question had occurred to me: what exactly is the amateur radio service, and what does it have to do with field day? That's a great question, and it's a fascinating story. Let's get into it. So, in 1912, radio communication is still a fairly new thing, and the airwaves are completely unregulated. It's basically the Wild West. Everyone was using the same frequencies, maritime, commercial, radio hobbyists, military. They were all getting in each other's way and stepping on everyone. Ultimately, what happened was April 15th, 1912, there was a boat accident in the middle of the Atlantic. You may have heard of this, what is called the Titanic. Now, because of all this radio waves being unregulated, there was amateur interference, there was commercial interference, there was other maritime interference, and military interference, and all this interference prevented quick and timely rescue for the Titanic, which, as we all know, sank. Uh, Congress had already been working on getting things regulated and taking process, and that is where the Radio Act of 1912 comes in. It started providing licensing and regulations for the various radio services. So the amateur radio service kind of got relegated to the higher frequencies, uh, things that no one else wanted to use, as things like the medium wave and long wave were used by maritime and other things like that. They thought they were getting rid of the amateur operators by pushing them off to the unwanted parts of the radiomagnetic spectrum. As it turns out, these shorter wavelengths had a unique property. When the atmosphere was ionized in a particular way, they were able to communicate thousands of miles away using these frequencies that they've been shuffled off to. It was low power, long distance, some transatlantic contacts, and that's kind of how the hobby was born. So, what does this have to do with field day? Great question. Uh, Field Day was born in 1933 at the end of June, which is traditionally when it's held. Basically, what it means is a group of amateur radio operators get together, simulate disaster conditions, no grid power, no infrastructure, operating from the field, and they're working on logging contacts and establishing base stations and all that sort of stuff to be able to basically communicate within the what's possible to use at the time. So while I was out there at the local field day yesterday, I discovered that there's a lot of different aspects even to that. There is people training and practicing their communications. There was a team who had set up a bunch of antennas and got the local infrastructure up and running, and then there were people just talking about things like the Aries Amateur Radio Emergency Services, or Skywarn, the storm spotting service. All things I am interested in, and I am definitely glad I went out to this. Uh, just there was people operating and communicating and sharing information. I was thrilled to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to possibly taking part in it next year. Now, why does all this ultimately matter? Why do we do this? Last week in Venezuela, two major earthquakes hit, causing untold catastrophe. Through all this, I there have been calls from the Venezuelan radio services to keep a lower frequency clear to help assist with those rescue operations. And part of what the field day training is to be able to support stuff like that. There are real world applications that happen every day, and while you may not ever be activated to be needed for something like that, it is good practice to have any sort of stuff like that. Uh, Aside from that, that's all I have for this week. 7-3, clear.